Hi, it's Stephen here from Sound of a Nation Wave, and this is day 23 of the December daily draws. So let's see what message we get today. And I'll be taking the first card from the Seasons of the Witch Winter Tarot, followed by an oracle card from the Seasons of the Witch Yule Oracle. So let's choose our first card and get the reading underway. Okay, here we go. We have the Winter Hierophant again. The Hierophant, this came out at least once before. And it's that listening, learning, developing our spiritual path, gaining the knowledge that we need to fulfill that path and to walk it as part of our life journey. This is about listening to receiving the traditions and teachings of being passed down. This is about listening to others. This is about learning, being receptive, being teachable. It's also about being the teacher and passing those things on that we've learned, so that the knowledge is passed down from generation to generation and continues on. It's about tradition and marking occasions, like we've just had the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere, at least, probably the summer solstice in the south. So we have the solstices. We've had, this is the winter tarot, which involves the Yule thing. We've got the Yule Oracle. And of course, we're coming up to the holidays, coming up to Christmas, which has got that connection, tie-in with Yule. And there were lots of traditions and customs and habits that we do, to mark that occasion, to mark Christmas traditions, Yule traditions that we pass on and that we observe as families, and things that we do each year at this time of year to mark the occasion. And this is where it helps us to mark where we're at. It's like marking our place in the wheel of the year. It's like I'm giving thanks for where we've gotten to, the things we've learned, and being hopeful for the future and the possibilities that lie ahead, particularly at this time of year. All these kinds of practices and traditions are very relevant at this time. So if we are celebrating this time of year, if that's part of our culture, if that's part of our particular path. Of course, not everybody celebrates Christmas. There's Hanukkah as well coming up. There must be other festivals, but even if we're not necessarily sort of spiritually following that as a spiritual path, we know it's part of the culture. Even if we're someone that doesn't have that particular religious culture or belief that we follow, even nominally. There's a lot of people that don't follow any religion, but they still celebrate Christmas, the traditions of Christmas, the family gatherings and the giving of presents and all of those kinds of traditions. The Christmas dinner where the family gathers for a meal together, all those kinds of things that are part of that, and the things that we we eat perhaps and drink at that time of year that we don't necessarily do the rest of the year. There are things that are specific to Christmas and this time of year, and that's how we know where it's like a marker. So what this card is saying is to observe those things. So because it makes you feel part of the wheel as it turns through the year. You are in step with it, and you're marking that step. You're marking that time, and you're linking with others and sharing in that common sort of intention. And even if you're just gathering to have a party and a celebration and there's no real significance to it for you, it's still with that intention of celebration that you've made it to this part of the year, and that you're looking forward to starting a new year and new possibilities. So there's all these kinds of things that we can follow, and we can see the importance of how the traditions unify us and bring us together. This is when traditions and things that are passed down can bring us together, and there's a place for them. I've often said with this card that the core principles remain the same, but sometimes each generation finds a different way to express them. And that can be true even of this, but some traditions are the same through each generation, because if it works, it works. Why tamper with it? It's only if it seems outdated to you and you need to find a fresh way of expressing it that you need to change things up. So this is like to me, this is considering the importance of tradition, and there is a place for it. Now, you can go too far the other way, in my mind. If you feel differently, then by all means, you feel differently, and you're free to walk your path the way you want. And if it works for you, that's brilliant, and I'll support you in that. But for me, you can go too far the other way with tradition and stick too rigidly, and it's got to be this way all the time and only this way. I think you can mix long-standing traditions with new ways of expression. They can go hand in hand. I think it can be a mixture, but there's value in new things as well as the traditional things, and they can work together. So there's that message there, but also there's that always be willing to learn something, and you're never gonna totally know everything, and you're gonna sometimes not necessarily totally change your belief system and follow a different spiritual path, or sometimes that does happen, but you may want to sort of adjust it or add bits to it as you learn more. Maybe, when you get new things, you get a different facet to the whole thing that you didn't see before, and that sort of adds something fresh to it. So always be willing to learn something new, is what the Hierophant would say to us, and see the value of how the traditions that we observe can bring us together with a common purpose. Okay, so let's see which oracle card we get to go with that. Feasting. There you go. That fits, doesn't it, with the traditions? We'll all be having a feast. Most of us, anyway, we'll be sitting down to some kind of food, eating and celebrating with food and drink and socializing and having a feast together, sharing in the abundance that we have, or whatever nature that abundance takes. Getting nourished on physical food, but also nourished spiritually and emotionally with the company that we have. Trying not to get stressed with all the same, preparing the food and getting things ready and being with people that we haven't been with perhaps for a time, and that can be stressful too. There can be tensions, things, everyone wants it to be just right, and sometimes there can be disagreements, and so there's that element too. And that's where we need that sort of willingness to learn and to be open and learn from each other in order to perhaps make this work. But let's have this time of celebration and mark it. Follow this tradition here is valuable to us for just lifting our spirits and having a time of joy and fun and laughter where we can, just to bring some light into this dark part of the year. Now that, we've got the promise of the return of the sun, the light coming back after the solstice, let's celebrate that. Okay, so that's today's message. I'll be back tomorrow with day 23. No, 24. It's 23 today. Till then, thank you for listening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon.